hoping that you guys can hear me well. I'm trying a new mic today. If when you guys come online, if you could let me know whether or not you're actually hearing me, that would be awesome. I really appreciate that. So today we're going to be talking about, my dog is moaning like crazy, but today we're going to be talking about how codependents actually, they look so strong, but internally we feel so helpless. And the reason that we feel helpless is because we are so dependent upon the moods of other people. Can you guys let me know if you guys can actually hear me? That would, oh, thank you, Lainey. I appreciate you. So today we're talking about, hi, Adam. Today we're talking about how a codependent person can look so put together, how a codependent person could look like they have all the answers. A codependent person looks like they're the one that's helping everybody. They're the one that everybody goes to. But inside, we feel so helpless. And I want to address that. If you haven't read Codependent No More, I highly recommend it. This is my book. I've written in the sides of the book, all over the book. It's my third copy. I've actually given a few away. And so one of the things that Melody Beatty talks about, which I love, is this idea that codependency is us seeking to feel less anxious by fixing other people. And so what that means is that, let's say you have a codependent mom. So a codependent mom is not very well emotionally regulated. So a codependent mom oftentimes puts up with an alcoholic. A codependent mom puts up with a narcissistic spouse. A codependent mom will walk on eggshells, and she will expect her children to do the same. A codependent mom will praise the child, the good little child that doesn't speak up, the golden child that pretends like everything's okay. A codependent mom will have more issues with the child in the family that is speaking the truth. Remember, scapegoat children are the most honest. The scapegoat child is the one that's emotionally honest. The scapegoat child is often the child that is not in denial. The scapegoat child is the one that's saying, this is effed up. This is crazy town. What are you talking about? A scapegoat child will say to the mother, why are you putting up with this abuse? Why are you letting him talk to you like that? Or why are you letting him treat me this way? And so a codependent mother, now think about what's happening in her mind. She's terrified because she's been taught that I have to take care of other people in order to have any sense of worth. So a codependent mom, when she's confronted by her children who are like, why aren't you protecting me? She freaks out. So a codependent mother, what she does then is she goes into people pleasing mode. She'll even fawn after her children's approval. She'll act like she doesn't know what's going on. Why are you so upset? It's no big deal. He's always like this. Like, you're overreacting. To a codependent mom is stuck. A codependent mom is emotionally immature. A codependent mom is freaking the hell out because she loves her children, but she's also dependent upon this man in her life or this person in her life, or she's dependent upon her mother and her father, and they're abusive. But the codependent mom does not protect her children appropriately. I'm sorry, I was a codependent mom. We make this mistake. The good news is someone who's codependent can wake up. Someone who's highly narcissistic usually does not wake up. And if they do wake up, then it's such a hard role for them to actually stay awakened and to continue to do this work. So someone who's codependent may look like they're okay on the outside, but inside they feel powerless and they feel helpless. So now, let's say you are trying to hold a codependent person accountable. A codependent person is going to freak the hell out because you are touching their deepest wounds and fear of abandonment and fear of being inappropriate for life or feeling unworthy of life. Remember, a codependent has grown up feeling invisible, unheard, like a burden in the way, and has learned that the way that you get through life is to focus on other people, to figure out what they need. And if someone in your life is like fresh, then a codependent runs in to fix it. If a codependent realizes that somebody is upset, then the codependent person runs in to try to fix it. But what we want to pay attention to is that the codependent person has an underlying anxiety. Underlying anxiety. So what the codependent person will do is that they will seek to calm their anxiety by taking care of the other person. So, what does that mean? So, that means that the codependent person is always anxious. The codependent person is never calm. It's so sad. A codependent person is always hypervigilant. A codependent person is always looking outside of themselves to make sure that the people in their house are calm, the people in their relationships are calm, because a codependent person doesn't know how to emotionally regulate outside of this attachment. So it's really important that if you're codependent, you realize that you are enabling people who may abuse you. You are enabling people who may be abusing your children, verbally, emotionally, spiritually, vibrationally, and otherwise, because you have such a fear of confronting what's really going on. Why do you fear confronting what's going on? Because you have an attachment issue, because you have a deep hole in your heart, because you never felt seen, because you never felt worthy, right? So that's the issue. Someone just said the mind, please shut up. Absolutely. So what happens in the mind is that your mind never stops. Think about the mind as a Ferris wheel. That's why it's so important that you, especially in today's day and age with social media and 5G, I really believe this. You know, we're being programmed to be goldfish. We're being programmed to like scroll through social media. And so our attention span is so minimal. But yet, the only way to heal is to extend our attention span. The only way to go into any of this is to appropriately is to be able to extend your ability to silence the mind long enough that you can notice an issue that's happening within your mind that is inappropriate. In other words, like if you're seeking the approval of someone from outside of you, then what, and that person is abusing you, then how do you fix a hole in the wall that you can't see? And so you're being trained to scroll, you're being trained to live in fear. The worst thing for any human being is to live in fear. And so what we're trying to do is end the fear of what other people think about us, and the fear of setting a boundary, and the fear of worrying about what someone who hurt you, pay attention, somebody who hurt you, they throw a rock into your window. You say, hey, you're not allowed to come to my house anymore because you threw a rock in my window. A toxic person is angry that you set that boundary and goes around, right, and tells everybody that that person's crazy. She's not letting me come to dinner anymore. And doesn't even talk about the fact that they threw a block into a rock through the window. So it's really important that we are understanding that we are trying to overcome fear. We're trying to end the fear of what the narcissist thinks about us, the fear of what our narcissistic mother is going to say to our cousin, the fear of what our narcissistic father is going to do, the fear of what someone's going to say when we say no. We're trying to overcome that fear. And how we get over that fear, guess what? We face it. We look it dead in the eye. So one of the strategies that I want to give you today is, and I use this in my 12-week breakthrough coaching program, and I use it with my private clients and inside the membership site. So it is what if. Remember, what if is anticipatory anxiety. So you're in the prefrontal lobe and you're using your imagination to think about something that might happen that hasn't happened. So what happens? You're out of the now. Once you're out of the now, all your power is gone. And so human beings have to learn to sit in their body when they're having strong emotions. They have to learn how to observe the emotions from the neocortex, not from Amy the amygdala. Amy the amygdala is about 3 years old. Harry the hippocampus is about 4 or 5 years old. And most people live within the recesses of the limbic system. Now, the way to overcome this is to activate the prefrontal lobe and the neocortex. Guess what? You can't do that while you're strolling through social media, right? You can't do that. And so that's important. So if you realize that you are scrolling through social media, you are getting hyperactivated by listening to toxic conversations. You are involved in groups that are toxic, involved in groups that are negative. They're hijacking your amygdala. So they're increasing the idea that you should be afraid. Lots of people out there want to make you feel like a victim versus empower you with tools to overcome being a victim. So you want to really be careful and critical of who you're talking to or who you're even listening to, right? So if people aren't inspiring you for how to get beyond the fear mentality, to how to get above and beyond these subconscious patterns that keep you stuck, I would say be very critical, because people who are trying to make you afraid in any situation across the board are trying to control you. So what we're trying to do is, hold on one second. There are just people that need to be removed. Sorry about that, dear ones. It's just sometimes when they see people see alive, we sometimes attract trolls, and they have to be taken care of. And so, what we're trying to do when we're trying to heal from codependency, and we're trying to heal from childhood trauma, is we're trying to recognize how we were affected at the subconscious level. We want to realize that we can look perfect, but feel so powerless on the inside. And that's what makes us try to control our anxiety by controlling how other people respond to us. So imagine waking up and realizing that you have a codependent mom or you have a narcissistic father, right? And imagine being groomed your whole life to ignore how you feel. Imagine mom's just like, pass the butter, daddy's not drunk, pass the butter, daddy didn't curse you out yesterday, pass the butter, everything's fine. Look at those birds outside the window. Like, it's crazy town, right? Like, it's crazy chaos. If you come from a toxic home, that's what it's like. If you come from a toxic home, things are going crazy in your house. There's boundary violation. People are being slaughtered emotionally and verbally, and somebody's ignoring it. Now, if you have two narcissistic parents, they're in on it. They're like a pack of wolves, and these poor innocent babies can't escape. You talk about complex trauma, but in a narcissistic dynamic with, let's say, a narcissistic dad and a codependent mom, oftentimes the mom is just sugarcoating everything, right? And what is she doing? She's controlling her anxiety by sugarcoating everything. But what happens to the children? The children have an emotional experience, and mom is not allowing them to have their experience. So you want to know why those of us who come from toxic homes end up on antidepressants? That's why. You want to know why we escape into video game world? That's why. You want to know why we become codependent? That's why. You want to know why we develop eating disorders? That's why. And panic attacks? That's why. Nobody taught us how to emotionally regulate. If you have a toxic father, narcissistic father, everything's about him. It's all about his grandiosity, what he thinks about people, subjective morality. He's I call them Barnum and Bailey in the three-ring circus. Everybody's got to listen to dad, beat his chest, boom, 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 boom. Nobody knows any better than him. He lays down the law. Mom better listen to him. And then mom teaches the children to listen to him, right? So mom has tremendous anxiety, trying to keep it all together, placates the father. But what happens to the babies? The children are being taught that their emotional experience is irrelevant, but yet there is no separation from the body or the mind. There isn't, or your emotions. The emotions go somewhere. They go somewhere. They get locked inside the body. And now what happens is, below the veil at the subconscious level, pain versus pleasure, reticular activating system, it is being hardwired for these experiences. So you know what I think? I think, oh, it must be bad to talk about how I feel. So then I develop a pattern and a program, don't feel. I develop a pattern for don't talk, don't share, don't be authentic. And so now I'm an adult and I marry somebody who's just like my mother or just like my father or a combination of both. And I go right into that cycle of being this people pleaser codependent, right? And I'm like my mom and I'm living my mom's reality and I don't know it. And I'm acting like a child in this grown-up relationship, seeking approval, tied to the emotions of other people. unable to manage my own emotions because I manage my emotions by managing your emotions. So I'm not an autonomous right? I'm not an autonomous person in this reality. I am focused on how other people react. And so if you are a codependent and you grew up in this type of a situation, I would say, first of all, the fact that you're here and the fact that you even identify and understand, ooh, I'm codependent. Ooh, my mood is affected by the moods of other people. Ooh, like I walk around on eggshells with every partner and my siblings. And ooh, I do this at work, right? That is so important because that is the beginning of the awakening process. I had a session this morning and my client was like, well, how do I fix it? How do I fix it? I was like, wait, hold on. You have to see it first. The brain needs a metaphor. The brain needs a picture. When you see yourself tethered to other people, when you see yourself thinking that the answer to your problems is keeping other people happy, you are not a 3D autonomous person. You are not self-actualized. You are not enlightened. You are stuck. You are stuck. And so the answer to this is, number one, identify that this is what you do. Huge, huge aha moment. The second step is to try to see where it is and how it is you could have been downloaded at the subconscious level to be this person, right? So that's really important. You have to, okay, I can see the pattern. Okay, I see myself and my mom. I see what I do. I see why I do it. Oh, wow, I don't express my feelings. Ask yourself, do I know what I think and I feel? If you don't know what you think and what you feel, then you're not going to be able to manifest from the truest source of you. You're going to live in default mode. You're going to live in default mode. All human beings live in default mode naturally. To live, um, to live from this idea that you are enough, to live from this place of empowerment, to live from, I know what I think, I know what I feel, I know what I want, and I'm going to move in this direction. To be able to say to a codependent mother, I'm hurt, you hurt my feelings, I didn't feel protected by you, and know she's going to freak out and then give her permission to freak out is freaking huge. It's freaking huge, right? I remember when my mother was going to leave my dad, huge mark for my mom, huge milestone. But what she said was, I'm going to leave him, but you have to take care of him. I was like 24. I just had my first child. And I shook my head. I said, Mom, I encourage you to leave him, but I'm not taking care of him. So that was me saying to my mom, this is how I feel. And how you feel about how I feel is on you. But I'm going to take accountability for how I feel. Number one, I think it's great you're going to leave dad. Number two, hell no, I'm not taking care of him. I'm not taking that on. So in that moment, even though I was young, and I didn't really understand codependency, I was able to say, this is your stuff. I was able to say, it's on you. You want to leave him? You're a big girl. You can leave him. You want to be upset at me because I'm not going to take care of him. I'm not going to fit your shoes and cook for him. He's a grown-ass man. Do his grocery shopping, grown-ass man. I'm not doing that for a grown-ass man. I don't care, right? This has nothing to do with me. That was me being non-codependent to my codependent mother. Now, you have to learn to do that in all areas of your life, right? So when I moved forward up the line, when I was my marriage was so toxic, but I didn't understand why, because I didn't understand codependency. I just thought like we were in a bad marriage. I had no idea that, in my opinion, this was a highly narcissistic, vulnerable person, nice narcissist. And if you want to know who someone really is, say no to them. Disagree with them. It was amazing. The nice guy facade disappeared when I said, I want to go into therapy. I think we're toxic and we have to figure this out. We have 3 kids. We have to break these patterns. And he was like, no, I'm not changing. If you feel crazy, you go to therapy. Okay. I don't feel unhappy. It took me like a year or so to realize, like, you're not unhappy because I take care of you. You're not unhappy because I anticipate your needs. You're not unhappy because you don't participate in the child rearing of our children. I cook for you. I clean for you. I do the food shopping. I pay all the bills. I help run the business, right? Like, you don't do homework. You don't give kids a bath. right? Like you don't do the play date stuff. Like you don't do any of this stuff. Of course you're happy. You're a giant, you're a giant baby man that I take care of, right? Of course you're happy. But I didn't think I was doing anything wrong because my mother programmed me to do that. So I was like, I was tethered to him in a very unhealthy way. And by the time I had my third child, it was like, I can't do this. It was like I was exhausted and I had asthma and migraine headaches. My body was failing. And so the mask slipped big time when I said, I can't stay here like this. Something has to change. And that's when the other side revealed itself. The Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. And it was like, oh my God. And then it was like full on tried to destroy me. But you know what? I kept going. And so, what I'm trying to teach everybody in all my work is that my greatest issue, yes, it was codependency, but it was also fear. The fear that I wasn't good enough, the fear that I couldn't make it on my own, right? The fear that I would be unable to take care of myself and take care of my children and to honor myself. The fear that if I went and followed through with the divorce, that my ex-husband would try to ruin me. Now, all of my fears, most of my fears came true, to be honest with you, like to be totally transparent with you. Like I'm not trying to prevent anybody or scare anybody from following through with what they need to do. But the reality is that my parents did like say adios. It wanted nothing to do with me. From my perspective, my sister and my brother were not there for me. They thought that I was selfish. They thought that I was a drama queen. I was over emotional. No one really cared to ask me, Lisa, why you're doing this. I was completely judged by the outside, right? So, but I kept going, and that was me facing the fear of what other people were going to think about me, being unfairly misunderstood, unfairly persecuted. I was afraid that he was going to try to ruin me financially, and he tried to. He took our car out of the driveway. I had no car. I mean, crazy, crazy stuff. So many of the things that I was afraid of actually did come true. But what I understood at an innate level was, Lisa, you have to face these fears. Like you cannot allow the fear of what other people think about you prevent you from finding your light, speaking your truth, and just being an autonomous 3D human being on planet Earth amongst billions of other people. Like you can't let these fears control you. And so I'm very fortunate that when fear arose, I understood very, very clearly I can't let him control me. And so when it came to taking care of my children on my own, I got no alimony. I got very little child support. I got no health insurance. I didn't get any social security. It was like, you have to start over from scratch. So I got 3 jobs and I worked 7 days a week. But what I focused on was, isn't this great that I'm strong enough that I can work, that I can create money for my kids. I didn't allow a victim mentality come in. It was just, I'm so grateful I got another job. I'm so grateful I got another client. I'm so grateful I get to work another day. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. And that being grateful overrode the fear. And I stayed in that place on purpose. Lisa, cast out fear. They want you afraid. My mother wanted me afraid. I think what happened, because my mother never left my dad, I think she was pissed off that I left my ex. It was almost like a jealousy thing. How dare you get out? How dare you start over? How dare you get a job that you love? How dare you get a second chance? How dare you when I didn't? My mother would never say that to me. But those of you, there might be some of you that resonate with what I just said. It was just a gut feeling that my mother was pissed off that I got out and she never did. Because when I said, Mom, I'm not taking care of Dad, she went right back to the marriage. She went right back. And so she never escaped. So, of course, when I escaped, right? When I escaped and I said, whatever it's going to take for me to get out of this marriage and to heal my life so I can heal my children, because obviously being married for 11 years, the kids are going to see a lot of toxicity, a lot of people pleasing. They're going to be groomed in the fear of disapproval. And certainly my oldest son, especially my oldest child, has suffered from that the most. And it's terrible. As a mom, I got to face that. You know, in the 12-week breakthrough coaching program, we talk at the first phase is awakening, where we talk about what happened. And then in the second phase, it's accountability, gentle accountability. And we help people understand that it could be no other way. right? It's not your fault. You're not broken. You just didn't know that you were operating from a pattern and a program. And yes, your children were hurt. And yes, you modeled dysfunction, but look at you now. Look at what you're doing. So we focus on that because in order to heal from anything codependency or narcissism, you have to be willing to say, okay, how did I get here? Okay, it's not my fault. But if I stay feeling like a victim, right, and I don't see the gratitude in waking up and I don't milk gratitude, I'm going to stay stuck. And I think that narcissists have, I call it malignant empathy. What I mean by that is that a narcissist has cognitive empathy in that, oh, they know what you feel and they use it against you. So if you feel downtrodden, if you don't feel good enough, if you feel like the world is out to get you, and you might listen, you may have grown up that way. I know I grew up that way. I felt that way. Like nothing's working out for me. Like I was angry by the time that I left my ex-husband, I was so full of anger because I had tried every tool in the shed. I just didn't know I was in the wrong toolbox or the wrong tool shed. Every tool, like people pleasing, like fawning, okay, seeking approval, shutting my mouth, stuffing my emotions, trying to figure out what other people need, being the good girl, taking care of everybody else but myself, being unselfish, being selfless, right? Like having all the parties at my house, never expecting anything in return, dealing with all of that, right? Those were the only tools that I had in my shed. Thank you, Mom, and thank you, Dad. So it wasn't me, it was the tool shed. I needed a bigger tool shed. And the only way to get a bigger tool shed was to awaken and to realize that I had to shift my focus. I had to shift my vibration. And if I stayed in that vibration of lack, I was going to continue to attract narcissists that was going to exploit that. The hell with that. I didn't want that anymore. So it was like bing, 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 bing. As these awarenesses kept coming and coming and coming, I was like, I have to figure this out. I have to figure this out. And that's when I started to lay down the framework that was helping me break through, which eventually I had no idea it would become. After I wrote The Road Back to Me, I had no idea that I was going to create this incredible framework of the 12-week breakthrough coaching program. No clue. But every time I had a breakthrough in consciousness, I wrote it down. Every time I developed a new tool, a new aha moment, a new situation, a new insight, then I wrote it down. Every time I had a mindset shift, I wrote it down. Every time I tried something and it worked and I was able to break the spell of worrying about what someone thought about me. Every time I was able to feel an emotion, feel myself getting concerned about what the other person thought, being afraid to like set a boundary, and I figured out the tool, I wrote it down. It eventually became the 12-week breakthrough framework, which has helped thousands of people break free. Like neuroscientists, blows my mind. Psychologists, blows my mind. Lawyers opt in to do the 12-week framework and their lives are changing. Why? Because there's a beginning and there's a middle and there's an end and there's structure and there's step by step. It's no fluff and stuff knowledge you can get anywhere. It's literally step by step, taking you up and out of the amygdala into the higher consciousness with tools every step of the way. Freaking fabulous. It's amazing. But if you don't know what's going wrong, right? If you don't know what's going wrong, you can't fix it. So here, dear one, understand that if you grew up with a codependent mom, you grew up with someone who had an anxious attachment style or an insecure attachment style, you will undoubtedly have mother wounds. This is not a book. This is an online program, Lainey, that I'm talking about. It's a 12-week class. Go to my website, www.lisayromano.com. Look under coaching programs in the menu at the navigation bar. My live class starts in July. Okay. So no, amygdala never goes away. Amygdala is the limbic system. What you need is activation of the prefrontal lobe and the neocortex, and that can only happen by way of meditation, self-inquiring journaling prompts, commitment, repetition, and consistency, an hour a day, an hour a day, an hour a day. And yes, a framework helps. But understand that if you're codependent, you look good on the outside because you don't want anyone to see how fractured or insecure you're feeling inside. But that will make you angry. That will make you resentful. That will drive perfectionism. That will fuel escapism. That will make you a victim of narcissistic people, right? So that's what's going to happen. If you're a codependent, you don't trust your inner reality because you're looking to the outer reality to give you clues as to how to feel. So you don't trust yourself. So I teach how to emotionally detach from what's happening outside of you. And if someone just asked, what if you don't use Facebook, that's fine. You can create a full of another profile, or you can opt in to work within the website. We have our members only forum, and I upload all the videos, all the live streams to the platforms. You don't have to use Facebook. But getting back to this inner reality, you don't trust yourself. So if you're codependent, you're looking outside of yourself for a sense of self, a sense of identity. Maybe you have the type of career you think that, oh, this is going to bring me enough prestige, and then mom and dad are going to be happy with me, right? There's this underlying anxiety that stems from this attachment wound, right? Of course you have anxiety. Of course, because when you're a little baby, if you don't get everything that you need, what do you feel? You feel insecure. You feel afraid. But that doesn't leave you, it goes underground. And you develop coping skills to mask it, like codependency. But it surfaces, right? It surfaces. God forbid your boyfriend's mad at you. God forbid, or God forbid your boyfriend's quiet. You think, oh my God, what have I done? I must have done something. How do I fix this? You go right into fawning, and you didn't do anything wrong. You just assume he's mad at you, right? And then when you try to get closer to this person who's just being a little bit quiet in their own skin, or they say, I just need some time, you go into a shame spiral because you think, oh my God, what have I done? It's all me. It's all me. It's all me, right? And then you try to attach. So this is what happens. Here's a healthy person. Here's a codependent person. Healthy person says, you know what? I need some time alone. Codependent person, anxiety. And then they push and they push and they want to attach. You know what the healthy person does? Pushes further away. So now that what that does to a codependent person, that makes them more anxious. So they push harder. The healthier person moves further and further away until they say, you're smothering me. Now, this could also be somebody who has, I'm talking about a healthy person, but with an anxious attachment disorder, or with somebody who has an avoidant personality. As a codependent pushes, the avoidant moves away. But here's what happens in that type of dynamic. A healthy person doesn't come back. What happens is a healthy person senses that the codependent person is trying to enmesh and trying to take care of them in unhealthy ways, and it feels icky. It doesn't feel genuine. So they start to move away, which triggers the codependent person. They feel unworthy, not good enough. All their childhood stuff comes to the surface. That's not their fault, but you have to fix it. You have to fix it. You have to fix it. The 12-week breakthrough coaching program can help you fix it. Okay. So if you're with an avoidant person and a codependent person pushes, avoidant person pulls away. Codependent person pushes, avoidant person pulls away. Now what happens? Codependent gets a little annoyed that they're chasing. Now the codependent person pulls away. What happens to the avoidant person? The avoidant person, or even a highly narcissistic person, starts coming back because they want you to chase them. So if the codependent person keeps like, no, I'm not talking to you. No, what happens is the avoidant person keeps pushing, fawning. Then eventually what happens is the codependent person pushes back in. The avoidant person feels like, oh, I got them again. They're still in my corner. They're not completely gone. Or the narcissist thinks, I've got them. Now the codependent person goes right into the people pleasing again, and the dynamic starts all over again. We go back and forth. It's sick. It's toxic. This is healthy. Two people, independent people, loving each other, shining love on one another. When one is in a crisis, they can lean on the other person, but the other person is able to lean on them in a healthy way too. So it's balanced. There is a certain level of dependency in a healthy relationship, but it's not enmeshed. When we are unhealthy, we want to enmesh. We want the other person to take care of us. We want them to be nice to us so we don't have to fear criticism and we don't have to fear abandonment, right? So we overcompensate and overcompensate. And yes, this program is for men and women. It's not just for women. It's not, thank goodness, more men are taking the problem. I think it's freaking fabulous. It's a sign of the times. But this is what happens. So a codependent person is like, please don't hurt me. I'm going to take care of you. And you're going to be nice to me forever. It's like we're 3 years old. We're not adults. Like an independent person says, this is who I am. This is what I think. This is what I feel. This is my value. This is what I'm bringing to the relationship. I hope that you appreciate it and respect it. And I hope you're able to be reciprocal. And if you're not, bye, Felicia. Right? Like, bye, Felicia, because I love myself so much. And a sign that you love yourself is that your inner talk is beautiful. You are enough. You made a mistake. You can forgive yourself. Nobody's perfect, right? So that's what we're trying to do. So we're trying to check and make sure that we know whether or not we're actually loving ourselves, right? So it's like, am I kind to myself? Do I treat myself kindly? Do I eat right? Or do I eat really poorly? Right? Like, do I not respect my body? So if you're bulimic, if you're anorexic, if you abuse laxatives or diet pills, or you're in relationships with people who abuse you, you want to say no, but you keep saying yes, and it's really a subjugating type of relationship. If you allow other people to talk to you rudely and you don't set a boundary, that's a sign that you struggle with self-love, right? It's a sign that you struggle with low self-worth. Another sign, so if you love yourself, then a sign is that you're able to put up boundaries even if the other person is unhappy with you. So healing means I'm going to be able to set a boundary, and if you have an upset about that, I'm going to hold on to myself. I'm going to stay in my own skin. I'm going to stay in my own lane. I'm going to give you permission to have your experience of me. You're anxious. I'm not jumping into that pool to fix it. I give you the right and the freedom to experience that anxiety, because it's up to the other person to change how they feel, right? It's up to the other person to say, I don't want to live like this anymore. It's up to them, but you can't get inside their mind to get them to fix it. But what a codependent person does is, like, they live in sort of like this fog dimension, and they have so many cognitive distortions that are coping skills from childhood. If I love them enough, they'll love me back. If I'm good, then they'll love me. If I take care of everything, then they won't discard me. If if I don't have any needs, then they won't think I'm a burden, and then they'll stay with me forever. Are you kidding me? You have to reprogram your subconscious mind, because if you don't confront that, you stay in that slave master relationship. You just stay in that. You're a slave to your faulty programming. You're a slave to your childhood. You're a slave to your ego. You're a slave to coping strategies. You're a slave to complex trauma. You're a slave. You're a slave to other people. You're a slave to your codependent narcissistic parents. You're a slave. You're a slave to your narcissistic siblings. You're a slave to a society that tells you what you should think and what you should wear. You're a slave. And so I say, screw that. Like, I want to live in the higher realms of consciousness where I'm not controlled by codependent fears. I'm not controlled by the fears of my inner child. I'm not controlled by the fears of wondering about what other people are going to think about me. I want to be as authentic as possible. Think about this. Think about this. Your time here is limited. My time here is limited. I am very aware that I'm not going to live forever. And so the choice is, am I going to live in fear, or am I going to try to change the subconscious mind? Am I going to accept what's happened, accept the past? This is where I am, and focus all of my attention, right, on what I can change? Or am I going to use the power of my free will to say nothing can change? I'm stuck. Nothing's going to change. You're right. Whether you think you can change or you can't change, you're right. The Bible says, as a man thinks, so is he. Whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. And so I want to consciously use my mind to live on the side of the street where anything's possible. And the Bible says nothing is impossible to he who believes. And all you need is the faith of a mustard seed. I'm starting to sound like Joyce Meyer here, but it's true. All you need is the faith of a mustard seed. Like, a mustard seed has no self-doubt that it's a mustard seed. None, right? So it's like, if you work on faith that you can change, that your mind is so strong, maybe your thoughts are on a monkey Ferris wheel right now. Okay, slow them down. Maybe 5G is like activating your brain waves and it's hard for you to slow down. Okay, avoid the phone. Avoid the phone, right? Detox from social media. If what's going on in politics is really amping you up, and the news is like really activating your amygdala, stop watching the news. Your world is not going to collapse because you stop watching the news. If anything, you'll get better. Write it out. Get very pragmatic about it. Get out of anxiety mode. Get into learning mode. What irritates me throughout the day? The news, negative people, my sister, my mother, my father, my best friend, the lady at the bookstore, whatever, certain YouTubers, What gives me anxiety when I think about it? Oh, watching that type of social media, scrolling through Instagram, comparing myself to other people, weighing myself, judging myself. Okay. So now you take these lists and then you say to yourself, what do I replace my daily life with from that? So if I'm not going to watch the news for 2 hours a day, do you know that I know somebody who watches the news for 3 hours a day? She has to watch the 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 7 o'clock news. For what? 3 hours of your time? You would have been better off sitting under a tree in a beautiful park for 3 hours, fiddling your thumbs, than being indoctrinated by programming, by news people that only want to activate your amygdala so they can do a psyops operation on you and control what you think and control who you vote for. Come on, 3 hours? 3 hours? Seriously? What about 3 hours of meditation or 3 hours of reading a really good book? Do you know what you could do for your mind? So when people say, "Oh, I can't," I think, no, you just won't, right? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. That's a false premise. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. But you either will or you won't, right? But maybe people need to be inspired. I know that I needed that. That's why I love Melody Beatty. And she just passed away in February. God rest her soul. I know she's off on her next great adventure. But we need people that inspire us with their stories. And that's what I hope to be to you, right? Many of you, I can see some of you have actually taken my program. So thank you so much for being here. Maybe it was my story. I hear that a lot. Lisa, it was your courage. It was your story. Like when I heard you speak, I knew you went through this and you gave me the courage to like face myself, right? Like, so maybe all we need more and more and more is for people to tell their story of courage and triumph, right? And grit. And maybe we need people to say, it's not easy. It is not easy, but it is possible. It doesn't happen overnight, right? It is taking me over what, 20, my daughter's 28 years old right now, or 27 years old. So it's taken me 25 years of hard earned codependent recovery work, but 30 years of inner work, but 25 years of hardcore codependency. Um, the program that I created, sticking to that framework until I was able to push this boulder up up the hill a little bit more every single day. But if 20 years is coming, imagine if today you said, today I'm just going to think that maybe I can just move the needle 2%. What I mean by that is, if I remember, I'll tell you a story. When I was before I had my current website, please visit my website, www.lisaroman.com. We just built a brand new website. I think it's so pretty. Go check it out. But before there were people that could help you build websites like this online, I was working with a company in Canada. They spoke French. And there was blogger.com. There was, I don't know if you remember, if you guys have been around long enough, but Google Plus communities, that's how I was sharing my stuff. And I decided, you know what? I realized, I took an inventory. Every time I read the daily news, I'm from New York, I felt sick after I read the daily news. And I said, why am I putting myself in this vibration? I'm not putting myself in this vibration anymore. Then it was like, well, what am I going to do with that half hour of time, half hour of my daily time on crap, right? So what am I going to do with this half hour of time? So then I said, you know what? I'm going to write for a half hour a day. Life changing, paradigm shifting. What? I'm going to go into my soul for a half hour a day instead of allowing this propaganda to infect my brain and have me worry about lions and tigers and bears and remain hypervigilant. Remember, the beast is fear. The beast is fear, okay? The beast is fear, okay? Because fear hijacks the prefrontal lobe and the neocortex, okay? It hijacks it. So then I said, I'm not doing that anymore. So it was life-changing, life-changing. That half hour became an hour. And within that half hour to an hour time, I created a blog. Then I created a website. Then I found the time to write my freaking book. So take an inventory. Where are you spending your time? Trust me, social media doesn't care what you do with your time. Okay. They know social media and the ding on your phone is addictive. Okay. Just like they know cigarettes are addictive. They knew that then. Okay. They knew that then. What is taking you away from you. Narcissists take you away from you. They take your emotions, they manipulate them, they overgeneralize, they talk in code, they expect you to decode them. You walk away feeling like you just got doused in like mule piss. Like you walk away feeling so gross and so dirty and so grimy, but you're in your head like, what did he say? What did she mean that? Yeah, that's your focus. They hijacked your focus. They took your greatest commodity. They took you away from your inner world. What you should be doing is, how did I feel when I walked away from that person? How did I feel talking to that person? How did that person's energy make me feel? That's what a narcissist does not want you to do, to start analyzing how you feel in their energy. Trust me when I tell you. And if you don't trust me, try it out. Try it out. Ask, instead of wasting time decoding what this narcissist said or what any person said, instead of trying to figure out what that person thinks about you, try to figure out what you think about that person. Life changing, paradigm shifting. Instead, know what a codependent does? Has a conversation. Oh, I hope he likes me. I hope I don't talk too much. I hope I'm dainty enough. I hope I'm thin enough. I hope. Get out of here. Get out of here. No more. So then what we have to do is we have to, if you, first of all, in the 12-week class, what I do is I help you see what you're doing wrong. Because if I don't teach you what's wrong, then you don't know what you have to fix, right? You don't know what you have to fix. You just keep doing the wrong thing over and over and over and over and over. So we activate metacognition, and we talk a lot about being a codependent person or a toxic person or an insecure person, and thinking about the way they think or the way that you think. And then once you see what you're doing, then you're able to say, okay, the next time I have a conversation, then I'm not going to think this way. I'm going to think this way. Life changing. There you go. You have a tool. You have a framework. So now when you're around somebody who activates you, you already know, move into a new tool shed. You need a new tool shed. You need a shed that's full of new tools, right? So when someone tries to make you feel afraid, then you're like, oh, wow, they're trying to make me afraid. Bingo. Now you're not afraid. You're observing. So now you're not in anxious mode. You are in observer mode. You're in learning mode, right? Okay. So when you start to get observing, right, then what ends up happening is now you're able to, someone's trying to make you feel guilty. You go into observing mode, like, oh, wow. They're trying to make you feel guilty. Now you're not in reactive mode. You're in observer mode. You're in learning mode. Someone tries to make you feel like you owe them. You observe it. Oh, wow, I'm in observing mode. I'm not in reaction mode. The narcissist or manipulator can't catch you there. Suddenly, you are profiling them. Not only are you profiling them, you're profiling yourself. Where am I right now? Where am I right now? You have to learn how to read your energy, right? And so this is how we heal our lives. But we don't heal our lives without recognizing what we're doing wrong. So if you've come from a codependent mother, a narcissistic father, a codependent mother, or a narcissistic father, if you come from a childhood wrought with alcoholism, do you know what you've been taught? Especially if mom doesn't take care of that or dad doesn't take care of that. You've been taught no talking, no feeling, pass the butter, nothing's wrong. It feels like the freaking Twilight Zone. Your inside reality does not match your outside reality. And you have a mom who's drinking the Kool-Aid because she is not emotionally mature enough to confront dad and put an end to it. She doesn't have those tools. She's in a very small tool shed. So it's not about judging mom or judging dad. It's about analyzing and assessing what tools do they use to navigate through the day. Because those are the only tools they're going to be able to give me. And so I finally learned well into my 30s, holy crap, my parents don't know crap about how to live a happy life. They don't know how to live a happy life. They're governed by fear and enmeshment, survival. That's not happiness. It was a huge paradigm shift when I realized they don't know what they're doing. I'm seeking their approval. I'm seeking their counsel. I had to get away, right? I had to get away from them and carve my own path. And I have. And now I've been able to teach my children a new way of living. And now we have 4 going on 5 grandchildren that I can, I'm so grateful that I did this work because I can see the parents raising them very, very differently than when I was raised and even differently than when I raised my children. That's just the truth. You know what self esteem is and self resilience is? Self esteem and self resilience is I can see where I made mistakes. I can see my flaws and I love myself anyway because I'm human. And I didn't know what I didn't know. And I was raised by 2 children who were traumatized and they didn't know. But you know what? I don't have to stay here. I don't have to stay here. I can learn from people who have broken free. And that's why I turned to Melody Beatty. And that's why I turned to Pia Melody. And that's why I turned to John Bradshaw until I could write my own books. So now I have 8 best-selling books. 2 of them are award-winning books. I can't even believe I'm saying that. I have a YouTube channel of over 700,000 subscribers. Me, some kid from Queens, some codependent chick from Queens, from single mom from Queens. What? Are you serious? Maybe that's not a lot to somebody else, and it isn't compared to other YouTubers out there who have millions of followers. It may be 700,000 subscribers. Maybe that's not a lot, but to someone like me, I'm still blown away by it. It's like amazing to me, right? Like it just blows my mind. I'm in the top 10% of podcasts. Like, what? Are you sure? Can you check those stats? Like, but that's what they tell me. Like my podcast is like one of the top podcasts on mental health. Like that's amazing, right? I'm one of the I'm one of the top 40 meditation teachers on Insight Timer. I have to pinch myself because I grew up invisible. I grew up with you're a drama queen. I grew up with you're making things up. I grew up with, oh, you just want attention. I grew up with you're a cold fish. I grew up with you're this, you're that. Who do you think you are? Who do you think you're better than us? You think my own mother would talk to me that way, right? I grew up that way. I was antagonized by my uncles who hated women. So I learned to like have a tough facade. That pissed my sick uncles off. They were alcoholics and gamblers. It pissed them off. So I became someone they picked on, right? But my sister would fawn more and my brother would fawn more, and I wasn't playing that game. So remember, the scapegoat child is the most emotionally honest. It's the one that's saying, this is crazy. I can't handle this, right? But I'm telling you that breaking through is not easy. It is so hard. It feels like you're ripping your skin off. It is so unnatural because your family are the people who are supposed to protect you. Your family is where you're supposed to go when you're sad. And when you can't turn to them and they are your antagonists, they are the people that are hurting you, it is a pain that cuts to the core of you. And to survive, you have to cut them out of your life. Like, oh my God, it is the hardest work ever. But you know what? Guess what? Your freedom is on the other side of that. Your ability to have emotional resilience is on the other side of that. And so I'm always going to encourage people to do this work. And all I can do as a person in this space who feels so compelled to like scream from the mountaintops, you're enough. It's not you, it's your programming. You're not broken. You're just unaware. You're operating from your mother and father's tool shed. It's not enough. It's not enough, right? How I do it is through these live streams on YouTube. I do it on Facebook. I offer meditations on Insight Timer. I create lots of YouTube videos. I create lots of social media posts. I have an Instagram account. And I have my programs. So for anybody that really wants to dig in with me and my life coaches, we offer weekly live streams like this. We offer live Zoom calls for community support. Yes, you are going to need about an hour a day, but I promise you, you're going to get a new tool shed. You're going to get all my tools and everything I've learned since then. You get the updated version. So I encourage you to lock in the offer that's going on now. We launch on July 13th, and you can save over $500 if you lock it in now, and you become part of my Facebook support group. You become part of the online forum, and you get access to me and my life coaches. It's just an incredible, incredible experience. But you need to have the framework and the tools, the bold insights, the mindset shifts. It's all been done for you. It's all been done for you. You don't have to worry about anything. We have a payment plan, and the best thing to do is to lock it in now. It's first come, first serve, and we are offering more bonuses like the live Zoom calls this time around, which we've never offered before. So I wanted to come to the YouTube community because you guys have been supporting me since 2009. And before we start pushing this out on social media and doing email marketing, I wanted this community to know about it. So if you want to learn more about it, just go to www.lisaaromano.com. You can email me personally. Either I or my team will pick it up, coach@lisaaromano.com, if you have any questions. I will put in the community post a type form quiz, and you'll learn more about the program. So you'll learn if you're ready for the program, because you have to be ready for this work. I'm going to hand you a shovel and I'm going to hand you a pick, and I'm going to hand you tools. I'll show you the way, but you're going to have to use the tools. But I promise you that if you use the tools, you're going to get to the other side. No more living in fear. You will develop a stainless steel spine. I promise you. Namaste, everybody. Until next time, as I bow to the love and light that is absolutely in you. Remember, www.lisaaromano.com. Click in the navigation bar, online sources, and you'll be able to learn more. Bye, everybody, and see you next time. Thank you so much for being here.